Hello dear students, the Mahajani. I am teaching geography in D.E.S Secondary School, Tirak Road, Pune. Today I am going to discuss about chapter 3, that is physiography and drainage. So let's study this topic with the help of a PPT. Okay, so as you can see here, physiography and drainage. So before starting the chapter, I will just give you an introduction about physiography. So physiography relates to various physical features which are found on the surface of the earth. So these may include the plains, plateaus, mountains, coastal areas, etc. And drainage refers to the river system, the rivers and its tributaries and the distributaries. So let's begin with the physiography of India. Yes, now here you can see a beautiful image of our Indian subcontinent. So this map refers to the physiographical features or physical features which are found in India. So when we talk about Indian subcontinent, there are major 5 physical divisions of India. The Himalayas, the North Indian plains, the peninsula, the coastal plains and the island groups. Accordingly, if you see this image, you will find that there are various color schemes which are given. So somewhere it is brownish or red, somewhere it is green in color, somewhere it is yellow in color, and but obviously the water bodies are shown in blue color. So according to the color scheme, we can find out various physical divisions or physiographic factors, physiographic divisions in India. So let's begin with the Himalayas. Okay, so Himalayas, as it is mentioned, it is the youngest fold mountains. Now students, last year in 9th standard, you have already studied different types of mountains. So in that, you have studied how the fold mountains have been formed. So Himalayas, those are the youngest fold mountains of the world. The Himalayan range consists of, or it starts from the Pamir Knot in Kazakhstan, and it is extending up to extreme eastern division, eastern tip of the Indian subcontinent. In India, the Himalayan ranges or Himalayas starts from Jammu and Kashmir to Arunachal Pradesh. Now this Himalayan range is not a single mountain range. There are various parallel ranges. So Himalaya is not a single mountain, but it is composed of various ranges starting from west to east, and also we can describe the Himalayan system from south to north. So thus it's not a single mountain range, but there are parallel ranges. From south to north, when we discuss about the Himalayan ranges, those are the Shivalik ranges, the lesser Himalayan ranges, the greater Himalayan ranges, and the trans-Himalayan ranges. So when we go from south to north, these are discussed as Shivaliks, the lesser Himalayas, the greater Himalayas, and the trans-Himalayan ranges. Now when we move from west to east of the Indian subcontinent, Himalayan ranges are described as the Western Himalayas or the Kashmir Himalayas, the Central Himalayas or the Kumayu Himalayas, and Eastern Himalayas or the Assam Himalayas. So thus, in short, it's not a single range, but it's a series of ranges, and those are parallel to each other. Coming to the another very important physiographic feature, that is the northern plains. So here you can see in green color, this is the northern plain region of India. The name suggests it's a plain region completely flat land. It's an extensively flat land, extensive low-lying areas. Now, this particular North Indian plain lies between the Himalayas and between the plateau region, or we can say the peninsula in the south or in the southern India. So between a mountainous range and between a plateau lies this extensively flat land, lies an extensive flat low-lying area which is termed as the North Indian Plain. Now, this North Indian plain extends from Rajasthan and Punjab towards the west to, it extends up to extreme east in the east of Assam. So, the North Indian plain extends from west towards the east. Now, when we talk about the North Indian plain, it is divided, we can divide it into two parts. One is towards the eastern and one is towards the western part of the Indian subcontinent. So here we have the Aravalli ranges, again, which is one of the oldest fold mountains of the world. So towards the east of the Aravalli lies an extensive flat land where river Ganga and its tributaries, they are draining through this particular area, and thus it is called, or it is known as, the Ganga Plains. So towards the east of the Aravalli mountain ranges is the northern Ganga Plain region, again, which is a flat land. Now this region is highly fertile. Why is it fertile? Because river Ganga and many of its tributaries, they drain through this particular region, and thus bringing all the sediments and depositing the sediments in this flat land, making it into a fertile region. Now, since the slope of the Indian subcontinent is from west to east, similarly, the rivers are also draining from west to east. Thus, the slope of this Ganga Plain region is also from west to east. The world's largest delta, that is the Sundarbans. This delta has been formed at the mouth of river Ganga and river Brahmaputra. So, river Ganga and river Brahmaputra bring all the sediments, and it has deposited at the mouth of river Ganga, and a huge delta is formed at the mouth, which is called as the Sundarbans. Now this delta mostly constitutes of West Bengal and Bangladesh region. So thus this is the eastern part or eastern side of the Aravalli range, which is known as the Ganga Plain region. Now towards the western side, towards the west of the Aravalli range or towards the northern part of the Aravalli range, again it's an extensively flat land, it's an extensive plain area which is known as the Great Indian Desert or the Thar Desert or Marusthali. So it lies towards the northwest of the Aravalli range. So to the north lies the plains of Punjab. Extreme north lies the plains of Punjab. Now we all know that Punjab or Panjanath has been drained by the 5 rivers. So the depositional work of river Satluj and its tributaries have made this area a very fertile plain land. Now this particular region slopes towards the west, and this area is under agriculture. So this is the western part of the plain region. Coming to another very important physiographic region, that is the peninsula. Now here you can see the Indian peninsula, it is somewhat V-shaped. So this lies to the south of the North Indian Plain. So towards the southern part of the North Indian Plain lies the Indian Peninsula. It tapers towards the Indian Ocean. Tapers towards means it becomes narrow, and it narrows towards the Indian Ocean. Now, there are many plateaus and hilly areas, hilly ranges in this peninsular region. So, we have Satpura range, we have Vindhya range, we have Aravalis, which is one of the oldest fold mountains in the world. So, Aravali is towards the west, the Vindhya and the Satpuras are in the central part of the Indian Peninsula. Then the bordering regions of the peninsula are highly hilly regions. One is towards the west and another is towards the east, respectively known as the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. So this is a very peculiar feature of the Indian subcontinent, where the region is tapering, narrowing towards the Indian subcontinent. This region, this peninsula has flatlands, has hilly areas, plateaus in the northern and the central region, and it is bordered by the hilly areas, extensively hilly areas on the western and the eastern coastal regions. Now coming to the coastal plains, the name suggests the coast. Now in peninsula, we have studied that the peninsular region is bordered by the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. So definitely there is a huge coastline which is present in the Indian subcontinent, bordering the Indian subcontinent. This coastline is up to 7,500 kilometers. So such a huge coastline is present in the around the Indian subcontinent. Now these coastal plains are accordingly called as the Western Coastal Plains and the Eastern Coastal Plains. But obviously, if you see this image, you will find there are certain dissimilarities. Both the coastal plains are not the same. So Western Coastal region, Western Coastal Plains are different from the Eastern Coastal Plains. Let's study the dissimilarities. What is it? Okay. So the Western Coastal region, see an extensive area, a very huge area which is bordering the Arabian Sea, is the western coast of India. Now this western coast is a very rocky coast. Why it is rocky? Because here you can see the width is very less. The rivers flowing through this western coast are very short and swift. They are not very long as River Ganga. So these rivers and the short and swift rivers, they flow through this particular western coast and empty themselves in the Arabian Sea. So because they are very short and swift, you will not find the deltas which are formed by the rivers, but you will find spurs and estuaries which are formed by the rivers originating and draining through the western coastal region. So here this western coastal area is bordered by Arabian Sea and it is narrow, as you can see. Very short and swift rivers flow which do not form deltas, but they form spurs and estuaries, and it is a very rocky coast. Coming to the eastern coast, now here you can see the eastern coast is bordered by Bay of Bengal. So Bay of Bengal borders the eastern coastal plain. The east flowing rivers meet this coast. One of the slides I have told you that the slope of the Indian subcontinent is from west to east. So most of the rivers, they flow from west to east and they enter into Bay of Bengal. So definitely these rivers, they meet the coast of Bay of Bengal and they enter into Bay of Bengal. So here the slope of the land is very, very gentle and the rivers have done a lot of depositional work. The rivers Ganga and its tributaries, they have done a lot of depositional work and thus deltas have been formed, which were not formed or which are not formed on the western coast. Okay. Now coming to the island group. Since India has border with the Arabian Sea towards the west, the Bay of Bengal towards the east, the Indian Ocean towards the south, it gives a very important location for the formation of various islands. So you will find many small and large islands in all these water bodies. Some islands are the coastal islands. They are near the coast, the west coast and the east coast. So such islands are called as the coastal islands. So they may be single islands, but there are two groups of islands in the Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal. So one group of island which is found in the Arabian Sea are called as the Lakshadweep Islands. So in this image you can see there are a number of small islands grouped together. This island group is called as the Lakshadweep Island, which is in the Arabian Sea region. Another group of island is found in the Bay of Bengal region, which is known as the Andaman and Nicobar Island. So again, same way, here you can see there are so many small islands clubbed together or grouped together. So all together these islands are termed as the islands in Bay of Bengal, that is Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Now when we talk about Lakshadweep Islands, they are the atoll islands. In this image you can see you have studied the atolls and coral reefs in last year. So these islands have been formed as the atoll islands. They are very small in extent. They are not very, very huge. The area of these Lakshadweep Islands is small in extent and neither they are very, very high. The region is also very, very low region. So they are small in extent, small in area and these islands in the Lakshadweep are not very high. Andaman Islands are volcanic in origin. So last year in 9th standard, you have studied about how the volcanic activities take place, how volcanic islands are formed in the water bodies. So these Andaman Islands are volcanic in origin. They have been formed by the volcanic activities. Now in India, Barren Island is the only active volcanic island in India. You will not find any other volcanic activity going on in India. Whatever the plateau has been formed, the Deccan Plateau, it has been formed many, many years back because of the volcanic activity which had taken place. But otherwise, no such eruptions, no such chances of eruptions are there on the Indian subcontinent. So similarly, this barren island is the only active volcanic island in India. In the Nicobar group also you will find some atolls. Now this is a guitar-shaped island which is a naturally formed region, which is a naturally formed atoll island formed in the Nicobar group. So here in Andaman and Nicobar regions you will find coral reefs, you will find the atoll islands which have been formed. Now this was all related to the Indian physiography, Indian physiographic regions. So let's begin with the physiography or physiographic regions of Brazil. Like in India, on the Indian subcontinent, as there were different physiographic regions, similarly, even in the Brazilian region also, you will find that there somewhere there are plains, somewhere there are small mountainous areas, and but obviously there is a huge coastline. So when we refer to the physical map of Brazil, you will again find different color schemes. Somewhere it is very dark green in color, somewhere it is light green in color, somewhere it is yellowish in color, somewhere it's brownish in color. So definitely it refers to the various physiographic regions. So in Brazil, you will find highlands, plateaus and small mountains which are present. Now, unlike India, in India we had the Himalayan mountain chain system. But here in Brazil, you will not find any mountainous range. A peak may be found or small mountains may be found, but not the mountainous range. So no high or long extending mountains found in the Brazilian region. But you will find wide plains. You can see in this northern area, northern region, the central region, you will find extensively flat land, extensively wide plains have been formed by the river Amazon. So Amazon basin is one of the widest plains here in the Brazilian region. Towards the southwest, you will find here in this particular region the Paraguay basin. And but obviously, since it is bordering a huge water body, Atlantic Ocean, so you will find some coastal plains which are restricted. So here in Brazil also some plains, some plateaus, flatlands are also a part of the physiography. Now when we talk about the physiographic divisions, it's the highlands, the great escarpment, the coastal region, the plains and the island groups. So somewhat like Indian physiographic divisions, even in Brazil also you will find somewhere there are highlands, somewhere there is a great escarpment, there are coastal regions, there are plains and there are certain island groups. So this becomes the physiographic divisions of Brazil. Let us study one by one. Okay, the highlands. Now this is an extensive plateau towards the southern part of the Brazilian region. Now this highland or these highlands are sometimes known as the Brazilian highlands. It is also referred to as the Brazilian shield or Brazilian plateau. So this plateau, extensive plateau, like we had Deccan Plateau or peninsular region in the Indian subcontinent, same way here in the Brazilian region towards the southern part, there is an extensive plateau known as Brazilian highland or Brazilian plateau or Brazilian shield. Now here east, towards its east and south, the altitude is more than 1000 meters. So towards the east and towards the south of the Brazilian highlands, the altitude of the highland is around 1000 meters or at times it is more than 1000 meters. But in rest of the region, it is between 500 to 1000 meters. This region gradually slopes towards the north. The slope of the region is towards the north, but it's not very steep. So this is the speciality of the Brazilian region. Many of the tributaries of Amazon make rapids and waterfalls. So there are number of rivers which flow northwards to meet the Atlantic Ocean. There are, you can see, because some rivers are originating, they are flowing towards the north and they are entering into the Atlantic Ocean. So Uruguay, Paraguay and Parana originate from the southern slopes of this highland and enter into Argentina. So some rivers, they originate towards the north and flow towards the north and enter into the Atlantic Ocean. The Uruguay, Paraguay and Parana, these rivers originate towards the south and enter into Argentina region. Coming to another highland, another very important feature is the Guiana Highland. So this is a major part in Venezuela. You can see here it's a major part in Venezuela and extends up to French Guiana. So here this particular Guiana Highland is a part of Venezuela and French Guiana, and some part is covered in Brazil. So in Brazil, it covers the Roraima, Para and Amapá in the northern part of the Brazilian region. The lower part is found in the Brazil. So the lower part of this Guiana Highland, which covers Roraima, Para and Amapá, are found in the Brazilian region. The highest peak here is the Pico de Neblina peak, which is 3014 meters high. So this is the only peak which is found in the northern part of the Brazilian region. It lies on the border between Brazil and Venezuela. The Guiana Highland lies between the Venezuela and the Brazilian region. Very important physical feature which is found in Brazil is the Great Escarpment. It is similar to the Sahyadri region or the Western Ghats in the Indian subcontinent. Although this escarpment is not very huge, it's a very small area, but because of the nature of the slope and the effect of the climate it gives to the entire Brazilian region, it becomes a separate physiographic region. It lies to the eastern side of the highland. The altitude is just 790 meters. The height of this escarpment, which lies to the eastern side, is just 790 meters. It is very steep from Sao Paulo to Port Alegre. So this is the steepness of the Great Escarpment. It acts as a barrier. So what is the speciality of this escarpment which makes it a separate physiographic region? It acts as a barrier to southeast trade winds which are blowing, and they come across this escarpment, giving maximum rainfall towards the eastern side, and a rain shadow region has been formed in the northeastern part. So this region is called the northeastern region of the escarpment, is called as the drought quadrilateral. Why it is called as a drought quadrilateral? Because maximum rainfall is in this particular region and the northeastern side receives very less rainfall. So thus it is called as the drought quadrilateral. So dear students, in today's session, we had studied about the physiography of India, and we had also started some of the physiographic features of Brazil. So if we compare in both the regions, you will find there are plains, plateaus, extensive flatlands, coastal areas, which give a difference to both these regions. So thank you.